Greetings, greenhouse people, and welcome to another installment of Tech on Demand, where our goal is always to bring you tips, tricks, and information to produce your best crop ever. I'm your host, Bill Calkins, and I'm joined once again for the third time by returning guest Bryce Anderson, the sales manager for the HC companies. He's back to tie a bow on our three-part mini-series of conversations. He's a 28-year industry vet with experience in a wide range of roles from production and distribution to retail and even manufacturing. He also brings experience in sales and operation management and is always happy to dig deep into water, media, nutrition management, and overall crop quality. Our first two conversations covered pricing and differentiation at the grower level, and this time we're going to take it a step further into some action-oriented tactics. Why sustainable growing solutions have far-reaching payoffs. This is going to be a good way to wrap up the series, taking us from a somewhat esoteric topic of pricing to the more actionable strategy of differentiating products and businesses, and finally to a clear way to stand out. So let's get into it. Bryce, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, hey, Bill. Thanks for having me again. Good to be here.
Awesome. So 2020 was an unprecedented year in so many different ways. Way too many to cover today on a podcast. But to start us off on today's topic, why don't you talk a little bit about why you feel sustainable products are potentially more important now than ever, given current and shifting consumer wants and needs? Or maybe another way to say it is, why is this topic so important? And I'm also interested, as we get started, on what you mean when you talk about sustainable products, because I know that's kind of a overarching term that can cover a lot of different things.
Sustainable products to me really represent any product available to consumers, factories, growers in all industries that support and preserve the integrity of the planet, betterment of the planet and stopping the waste that we're putting into the planet that's going to stick around for a long time. I think where our industry is, it really comes down to plastic or no plastic. And I think plastic is one of the largest waste pieces that our industry, whether it be greenhouse poly or plastic pots or tags or whatever. So anything that we can do to support preserving the planet and bettering the planet, I think is going to be, benefit, the perception of our organizations, as well as, cater to some of the specifically younger generations, coming up and getting involved in horticulture and gardening.
For sure. Do you think mindsets in terms of the consumers or users of our products, do you think those are shifting or have recently shifted to make these kind of products that you talked about more desirable? I recently read a report just on the messaging that we use about, reduced pesticide use on products and how, that bee-friendly messaging is really important. But when you talk about the plastic, do you think that there is a mindset shift or a shift in consumer demand when it comes to more responsible products?
A story that I'll share with you. I've got a 23-year-old daughter, and I've been deeply involved in the development and launch of HC's EcoGrow product line, which is our version of an organic and natural sustainable growing solution. It's an alternative to plastic. And I've got the samples on my desk, and we've put a lot of effort into creating a product line that is automation friendly, works in an existing trays. It's compatible with flat fillers and such. My daughter walks in my office and she goes, "What do you got there?" And I told her about it, and she's like, "I'd buy that one." Bye, Dad. And I think it's just kind of the mindset of the younger generations is wanting to eat clean, to be clean, and to support green.
Totally agree. And I watch my kids, scowl at grandma and grandpa when they use a straw at a restaurant. I think that it's just become part of how people live their lives these days. I mean, it used to be, it was a whole different, I got to take something to a recycling bin. Now it's just second nature. And I tend to agree. So that's thinking about it from that consumer perspective. So your daughter's 23, pretty representative of that market that we're all trying to appeal to these days. What about from the greenhouse professional side? Like, what's the appetite for these kind of products look like from a production standpoint, or from the greenhouse folks?
One of the things that makes sustainable alternatives a challenge on a large scale is, number one, it's automation, it's production efficiency, it's optimizing available human resources, labor. And if a product, whether it be a fertilizer, a soil, or a container, or whatever, if it creates an element of complexity to an existing system that works, or it inhibits the improvement of a current processor system, it's very difficult to go full scale with it, because efficiency and automation are probably two of the most important components to profitability and greenhouse production today, and as well as at the retail level. So it's very carefully selecting, trialing, and putting a lot of deliberate thought into the selection and trialing of products before you can go full scale.
And when companies like HC are paying attention to that and understanding that pain point, and coming out with the products that can be automated, are friendly to current greenhouse flow situations, do you think that, have you found that growers are more receptive, or have you seen an appetite shift over the last few years when it comes to being a little bit more willing to accept these sort of eco-friendly alternatives?
I think there's more demand today than there was a year ago, and what there was 5 years ago. I think the demand and interest today is exponentially greater than 5 years ago. And I think that is a result of the consumer interest. It used to be, if we think about consumer goods, you go to the store, you go to Target, or you go to the grocery store. There used to be a small section of available organic produce. You see these sections becoming larger, so the displays are larger. There's more assortment. It used to be that there would be a bell pepper. Now they have all the bell peppers in organic, and they have as many organic bell peppers as they do non-organic bell peppers. Cleaning products is another area. Paper towels, napkins, paper plates. All these selections continue to get larger and take up more shelf space, so there's more people exposed to it. The thing that's interesting with horticulture to me is, I know full and well that when I purchase an organic paper towel, or a natural paper towel, or an organic vegetable, I'm paying for an organic product or a natural product. I could probably save not a couple pennies, but a pretty substantial amount of money buying the run-of-the-mill general product. But for example, my family, we drink milk, and you've got the half gallon in the plastic jug that I'm going to say probably runs about $1.79, $1.89. And then we've got the organic milk that comes in the cardboard carton that costs $3.29.
Mm-hmm.
We buy the organic milk not because it's organic, but because it's in a paper carton.
Okay.
So I think the mindset shifted a little bit, and there's more appeal to the organic products.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. And when you think about consumers buying our products, or even professional landscapers using the products, I used to think, kind of naively, well, it's it's a petunia, it looks organic, it's a living plant, the container it's in was almost secondary. But you do this a few years, you start your garden, and a few years later you've got piles of plastic in your garage, not always going to get recycled. It's a pretty visible thing. So I tend to agree that it's that waste stream that's going to catch a lot of attention, certainly more so now than ever before. And you mentioned the cost, and there are certain products that my family and I also buy and know we're going to pay a little bit more for, because of whether it's the packaging, or it's just a much more eco-friendly cleaning spray or something like that. Cost is always part of this discussion. And I remember certainly, well, you said 5 years. 15 years ago, I was working on the Circle of Life project at Ball, which included rice hull pots and other sustainable production requirements. And it was a challenging discussion to have with growers because of the cost. And that was 15 years ago, and even then, some got it and some didn't, and that was fine. But talk a little bit about kind of the real scoop on the cost impacts of sustainable products, because I think that's a pretty key part of this discussion.
I think one of the biggest misinterpretations across all consumer goods is the difference between sustainable or green or natural and organic. Organic is a totally separate designation that basically represents a specific way of producing or growing.
It's a certification.
It's a certification. You have to be organic certified. So I think that when we talk sustainable, like our EcoGrow line at HC, we have a standard EcoGrow, which is, for all intents and purposes, the same as the organic version of EcoGrow, except our organic EcoGrow is certified organic because we don't use newspaper that has colored ink on it. It's okay. Colored ink is not allowed. It's more expensive to source raw materials for organic EcoGrow because we're limiting what our, the pool of materials we can pull from by eliminating colored ink. So there's a cost that comes with organic. But I think the thing with pricing and costing of natural and sustainable and organic products is that it's generally always going to be more. We see the prices as being more in the grocery store and at whatever retailer sells those products. And I think that the challenge is embracing the opportunity to price accordingly. Feedback that I've gotten is that I'd like to use these pots, but I can't use them because they cost more because I sell my vegetables for this much. Mm-hmm. Why not raise the price of the vegetables accordingly? We talked about, pricing. Are we harvesting the value of the crops and the products that we produce and that we sell? I think retailers have a little bit more of a distinct advantage when it comes to price because they're usually markup based, mm-hmm. or they're going to go double 1.5 to 2.5 or whatnot. So, hey, my cost is $1, it's $2.50. So they're a bit of an advantage over a grower. But growers could use a sustainable product like an EcoGrow pot or some of the other wonderful alternatives that are on the market as an opportunity to raise price. Because now we're not
differentiate. I mean, it fits right into our previous two conversations.
Yeah. And but it's challenging. We go back to the challenges where we have a short window in our industry where it's really 8 to 12 weeks and it's over. I think we talked about this last time.
Yep. And
if you don't move something, then you're at risk of missing out on a turn, or you've got increasing your shrink. So start small. I've got growers that wanted to do all their vegetables in a sustainable product. They did end up using our EcoGrow, and it's like, okay, well, let's do all your heirloom tomatoes in it. They've now transitioned to doing all of their vegetables in EcoGrow, and they're able to command $1 per pot difference at the retail level because it's in a sustainable product. And it's like, it differentiates it for their checkers. It also differentiates it with their customers, that it's perceived as more of a premium line, and they're able to harvest the value.
I like that idea of carving out a subset of your product mix, trying that in a sustainable package and charging for it. That makes a lot of sense. So when you talk about these types of sustainable products and even growing processes, it seems to me that they're new, and that really should be the way that we talk about them with wholesale customers is, not just another package around the same product. It's actually a new product discussion. And that, I think, requires a little bit of a mindset shift. Do you have any thoughts or experiences with growers who've tried that, or how would you go about having that new product discussion?
It's really less of a replacement or alternative to a current product being used and more about positioning a new product. You're spot on. it brings the opportunity to do several things. I think we're at a critical turning point, a generational turning point in our industry, where we have an opportunity to engage and capture the interest and maintain the interest of some of the younger shoppers and the younger generations who seem to have collectively they place more importance on preserving the planet. And I'm not saying our generations or the generations before us don't care. I just think the focus it's a little bit different. Pricing is such a sensitive topic in our industry too. And, if we look at it as a new product, it provides us with an opportunity to provide a new pricing structure. It does have a new costing structure, but it's a new product. This isn't our 4-inch annual or our 3-inch vegetable. This is our new natural 4-inch or 3-inch. And you can position that to your customers as a brand new category. It really takes away replacement, and it provides such a unique opportunity from a differentiation standpoint too, because it is somewhat still new, even though it's not. So not everybody's doing it. And if you're in a region where there's a lot of growers or retailers offering a similar product mix, you can really allow yourself to stand out and differentiate yourselves from your competitors, if you will.
No, I totally agree. And the product tends to look different on the retail shelf. It is visibly different when it's in an earth-friendly or even an organic package. I think talking about it as a new product just gives an opportunity. And every customer asks what's new. And now you're going to have something to talk about next season when you go in to have that discussion with your wholesale customers. So
what makes it uncomfortable for many, Bill, is when I was a grower, we used to do all of our vine crops and cucurbits in peat pots.
Mm-hmm.
For a couple of reasons, because we wanted to sell them young, and we wanted the person to be able to take them home when they weren't fully rooted out and go ahead and just drop the whole pot and everything in the soil and be off with it. Because having been in the greenhouse background yourself, when those things sit in a pot too long, it's a tangled mess on the bench. So we wanted to move them fast. They were not an ideal solution large scale, largely because there were no trays or whatnot, but it was a great solution for the application. And there's still a great solution for the application and many other applications today. People look at a sustainable product, whether it be a fertilizer or a pesticide or a pot. In the case of the pot, you're replacing a plastic pot that it grows a certain way, that it performs a certain way, and you've got to do it differently when you change the type of container. In some ways it's better, in other ways it's different and requires a little bit of prevention tactics to make sure that you're optimizing the performance of the product. But the cool thing about North American growers, as opposed to the Netherlands and in Europe, we're so good at growing a diverse crop. We've got hundreds of varieties.
Mm-hmm.
So we almost have all these micro crops that we're PGRing different, we're fertilizing different, we're growing different, we're watering different. Some growers might have 5 different sizes of containers. Every one of those sizes needs to be irrigated and fertilized differently. Oh, and by the way, the 50 varieties in each of those sizes sometimes need to be irrigated and handled a different way. We are ideally suited to adapt to the change and the different cultural approaches that need to be taken with a sustainable product.
I like the way you put that, because you're right. Every crop is just about treated differently. We know that we're set up to handle that kind of scenario. Growers are trained that way and are very diverse in the crops that they can grow, which would allow them to, the learning curve is going to be a lot less steep when you have a change in the products you're growing in. I think that's a really good point. It's kind of the blessing and the curse, but it's certainly a blessing in this regard.
It's kind of like I've done a lot of trials, with lots of different products over the years. And if I've done a soil trial and I'm trialing a peat-based media next to bark-based media, I have to treat them independently. If I treat them the same, one crop will fail. The same thing for, trialing Marathon and Safari for aphids. Mm-hmm. One's going to fail. fertilizer using a natural organic fertilizer next to a classic Peters fertilizer. One's going to perform differently if you do them exactly the same. It's the same thing with a sustainable container trial. If you don't treat them as each crop needs to be treated, one of them will fail.
Sure. And I think that the growers tend to be really good with those kind of intricacies, especially if they're willing to put the time in trialing them, or partner with a company like you guys who's put the time in trialing them. Because I know that you spend a lot of time trialing your products and you have a lot of information going in before you're shipping these into a grower. You've gone over the nuances that they need to pay attention to with these crops.
A lot of it's about feel-good words too for the consumer. I think that we're a feel-good society. GMO free. What does that mean? Sure. Does everybody know what it means? What about natural versus organic when you're going through the grocery store? I think if I had to guess, I'd say the general public opinion is that natural and organic are really kind of accepted as being the same when they're not. One of them is a specific certified designation and the other one does not, even though they may have some of the same similar practices involved in producing that good. I think that, in the plastics industry contains post-consumer recycled content or manufactured with recycled plastics. That's a good thing. That means we're putting less into the landfill and we're using more post-consumer or recycled, post-industrial recycled materials. We've got for our fiber grow line and our eco grow line, we've got FSC 100% recycled and USDA biopreferred status. So we're putting in some of the work to make sure that we are doing everything that we can to positively impact the future of the planet and providing products that are going to pretty much say that they're going to do that.
Yeah, I love it. And there's value there in the minds of consumers. There is absolutely value there that can be captured by you as a producer. So that's a really a great way to wrap up what we're talking about. We have covered a lot in 3 episodes. I mean, we have talked for at least an hour and a half. We've covered a whole range of topics, probably tons more that we could get into. And you're an insightful guy, so I imagine you have some final thoughts, or maybe we missed something. Maybe we missed some, a great idea that you had. So I'm gonna give you a second now to, cover anything we might have missed or to reiterate a point. And then when you're done, maybe share ways that folks can reach out to you or learn more about what HC Companies has in terms of product lines.
After last year's frenzy of a season that we had that really carried into the fall, and the expectation that it's going to be more of the same this year. And I mean, there's people already asking if vegetables are ready in the upper Midwest. It's crazy.
Oh yeah.
We've talked about pricing and harvesting the value, and we've talked about differentiating, and we've talked about maybe implementing some sustainable categories into it. I don't think it's too late. I think the season's going to go. This might be a great year to kind of test the waters because of the expectation that the frenzy and the chaos of the consumer interest this year is going to continue. If there was ever a time to take a calculated risk, this might be it. And we don't need to go big. Just take baby steps and try to move the needle forward and try to look at some interesting ways that can set yourselves apart from the competition and other options in the area.
I agree. It's definitely not too late. We've got a few turns left this year, and maybe it is the time to take a hard look at your pricing or trialing some differentiators to help stand apart and get your wholesale customers a little bit more familiar with some of these products.
Yeah, so, you can check out some of the products we've talked about from HC at hc-companies.com, and I can be reached at banderson@hc-companies.com. I love talking about anything. I'd love to talk about the current IPM practices or soils or anything, but certainly containers are kind of my official area of expertise right now.
That's great. And I'll put those links in the show notes. Definitely reach out to Bryce, have these conversations. If you have questions, I'm sure he'd be more than happy to answer them. And yeah, check out HC Company's website. There's really good information. Look at some past issues of GrowerTalks where we have dug into the trialing and testing and really had to have some really good data to share. I think that, HC is a company that puts the time and effort in on the front end to make sure that the products that you're getting are those that fit into your production scheme. They work and certainly can help you differentiate. So as a little bit of a plug for you guys, but it's definitely
Appreciate that, Bill.
Hey, it's well deserved. It's well deserved. You give me a lot of your time too, so I really appreciate it.
Well, it's been a lot of
Bryce,
fun. Hopefully we can do a few more of these. Let's keep it going. Let's check in after the season and maybe see how things went for growers and see how the spring ended up.
oh, I'd love to do that. We definitely have to do that. And maybe we'll just hit record and let folks hear our conversation.
Sounds great.
Awesome. Well, I am Bill Calkins with Tech on Demand, wishing you a fantastic season. It's coming quick, and people are really, really excited to get out to the garden centers and start buying these products. Definitely want to encourage you to think hard about differentiation and engage your entire team in the discussion. And be sure to subscribe to the Tech on Demand podcast on your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode. We're on iTunes, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, and just about all the others. Take care out there.